Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm really excited for this makeup look today. It's going to be a natural makeup look, definitely more emphasis on dewy, glowy skin. How could you not love that? But the really great part is that it's going to be minimal product and minimal time, which I think is really important because a lot of us, I'm sure, are really busy and we just don't want to spend hours in the morning getting ready. We just don't have the time for it, or maybe we just don't want to, and that's okay too. But this look is really simple to do. It's definitely transitional. I feel like you can wear it in the day and also at night. So I'm going to go over some techniques and some products so that you guys can achieve this look easily from home. First thing to do is to put on a moisturizer. Even if you have an oilier skin type, it's important to moisturize because it really makes the makeup sit nicely on the skin. I'm using a flat synthetic brush to work the moisturizer into the skin. Using that same synthetic brush, I'm going to go in with an illuminator. It's the Strobe Liquid Lotion from MAC, and this is really nice because it's going to give the skin a very dewy glow, and I'm just going to work that into the high points of the face and blend it outwards. And then the excess that I have on my brush, I'm going to dust a little bit on her chin, tip of her nose, and a little bit above her eyebrows. It's really just going to give the skin a nice glow. This particular product does tend to be a little bit pink, so it is a little bit better for lighter skin tones, but if you use it sparingly, it will look really nicely on any. The next step is foundation, and when doing a natural dewy look, you want to choose a foundation that has light coverage. Natural skin is not solid in color, so a little bit of show through from the skin is ideal. On Mashie, I've chosen to use a damp sponge, and I'm just patting the product into her skin because I really think that it gives a great finish. If you tend to have drier skin, I really recommend using a sponge because if you use a brush, it tends to lift up the dry skin and it can end up looking kind of patchy. So sponge is a good way actually for all skin types to really apply a good coverage. The next step is concealer. So it's important to conceal under eye and also any blemishes that you have. The concealer really just kind of perfects the skin in a very natural way. When choosing a concealer for under eye, you want to make sure that it has a pinkish tone to it and that it matches the level of your skin. If you choose one that's too light, you'll end up with raccoon eyes. The next thing that I like to do is just go back in with that same foundation sponge and blend over so that you get a really natural finish to it. Go ahead and finish that off with a little bit of translucent powder to set it in. Next up is brows. I really could spend all day on brows. Probably skin and brows I could spend all day on. I just love it. I'm using a clear eyebrow gel to just kind of give her eyebrows a little bit better of a shape. A good rule of thumb is you want to brush the eyebrows upwards all the way to the arch, and then past the arch you kind of just want to put it at a 45-degree angle. But it really just kind of gives that fullness to the brow that's nice and actually really on trend nowadays. And I'll go ahead and let that eyebrow gel sit before I apply any pencils or powders. Now you don't have to use an eyeshadow base. Today I am going to use one though, and I'm going to use MAC's Prep and Prime 24-hour eye base. I just think that sometimes it's important to use these because it keeps the look looking really natural so that your eyeshadow doesn't crease as the day goes on. That's the biggest thing about primers, is it really kind of helps keep the longevity of the makeup. Now that the eyebrow gel is dry, I'm going to go in with an angled brush, and I'm going to be using actually a contouring powder. I feel like you can use eyeshadow or you can buy an eyebrow powder if you like, but you just want to choose a color that's a little bit lighter than your actual eyebrow color. And since this is a very natural look, I'm not going to do a very sculpted brow, and instead I'm just going to kind of go in and fill in where it needs to be filled in, but not really do a whole lot of structure to the eyebrow because it's going to look a lot more natural that way. A good general rule of thumb is to check the eyebrow shape by using the end of your eyebrow brush, and you should have a 90-degree angle from the inner corner of the eye and a 45-degree angle from the outer corner of the eye, and if the eyebrow fits within there, then it's really great for your eye shape. I've chosen a medium brown to match with Mashie's skin type. Again, natural looks are not supposed to be about the makeup, it's supposed to be about a person's natural beauty. So I'm really just kind of going in and blending and contouring across her eye with this really medium tone eyeshadow. It's important to really blend it out and make sure that you don't have any harsh lines and just have a really light hand. It's okay to add a little bit more later if you want, but just go in really lightly at first. After you've applied that medium light color, I'm going back in with a little bit darker and just kind of shading the outer thirds of her eyes just to give a little bit more dimension to her eyes. You can use a clean fluffy brush to help blend, or you can go back in with that same foundation sponge and just kind of go back over that eyeshadow that you applied to give it a really natural finish. For her eye color, I've chosen a warm red brown, and I'm going to apply that underneath the eyes as well as the outer upper corner of the eye, kind of in a circular shape going into the brow bone, and then just really blending that out. Using that same synthetic brush that we used earlier to conceal the under eye, I'm just going to use it to kind of clean up the eyeshadow that's there and give it a really natural look. Using a real haired flat small brush, I'm going to apply a little bit of the highlighter that I'm going to use on her cheeks and stuff later right to the center of the eye and blend it up into the eyebrow a little bit. This really makes the eyes just look amazing. It's such an easy little trick to use. I use it all the time personally and I love it. And of course go in with a clean fluffy brush and just kind of buff out the edges so that way you don't have a harsh line of highlight in the middle. Next up, curl those eyelashes. It always freaks models out when I use this curler. It's really great for other people, but I probably wouldn't recommend using it on yourself. Next up, pop on a little bit of mascara. I'm going to use it really sparingly on the lower lashes, and then I'm going to work it into the upper lashes. You kind of want to do a little shimmy towards the base of the eyelash, and then just kind of swoop it out towards the end. Another really great trick that I like to do is use the tip and add a little bit more just to the outer lashes and outer corner of the eyes, because it really kind of gives the eye more of an almond shape. But of course you got to work with what your eye actually needs. Next is contouring powder. Now if she was a little bit lighter and less olive skinned, I would probably choose a bronzer for this, but I'm just going in with this really taupey contouring powder and going into the hollows of her cheeks and blending a little bit up under her forehead just to give a little bit of dimension to her face. Using a clean fluffy brush, I'm going to apply two different colors of blush. I'm using a pink and a little bit of an orangey sort of color, and I'm just dusting that on to the apples of her cheek and downwards a little bit into the hollows of her cheek to give a really natural flushed kind of look. It's important to touch down where you want a majority of the product to be, so you always kind of start in the apples of the cheek and blend downwards and upwards and whatever your actual face shape needs. Next, using a really large fluffy brush, I'm going to apply that same highlighter that I used into the center of the eyes, just on the high points of the face, so across the cheekbones and on the tip of the nose, and just dust it really, really lightly. With my finger, I'm going to apply the highlighter into some concentrated areas, so just literally the highest point of the cheek, and blend it up into the eyebrow. Really, really nice, and it gives it a more concentrated feel, which is definitely what we're going for. Glowy, dewy, and of course a little bit on the edge of the nose. I'm going to use a translucent powder with a tapered fluffy brush. I actually really love this brush from MAC, and it's important to use a translucent powder so that way it doesn't change the color of your foundation, and you really just want to go in where you don't want the face to be shiny. Since this is a natural look, I don't prefer to use a lip pencil and a lip gloss and extra products like that, but I really am loving these chubby pencils from MAC. It really gives the lips a glossy sort of look, but at the same time it does add a little bit of pigment. As a final touch, I'm going to use that same highlighter on my finger and just add it to the cupid's bow and the center of the lip. That's it for our finished look. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to know the specific products and tools that I use, please check out my blog as I have a lot more information there.